Okay, my friends, I'm going to be talking with Liam Martin shortly about all of these, about the weather and about electricity and about what are we going to do about the problems on Earth. This is an incredible video, a swarm of raging thunderstorms seen from space. And these are all, we're having terrible, terrible problems with the weather right now. And anybody that denies that is just lost. We are in trouble. And this is lightning, and this is relatively poorly understood. They really don't understand it all that well. And in the weather phenomena, we're still learning. They are still learning. There's a lot of intricacies to this. And what is creating all this excessive electricity? Where is all of this electricity coming from? Why is we getting all this electricity? Why? That's nothing more than electricity. And what is electricity? What is it made out of? And why does it all of a sudden just start appearing here in these huge, enormous quantities? And what causes tornadoes? What causes hurricanes and floods and absolute enormous amounts of condensation and these huge balls of ice that are falling now? What is that all about? And how are we going to stop this? And can we stop it? What is happening to the Earth? Right, and this is the European Space Agency. They're showing all of these extreme weather events all over the Earth. And I mean, it's all over the Earth. It's not just the United States, it's just everywhere. And Canada has enormous wildfires raging out of control. And all of that stuff ends up swelling up our atmosphere. All the combustion. Every time you have combustion, it swells. And every 10 years, the envelope of our atmosphere increases 164 feet per 10 years. And they've, since the last, I think in 1980 they started measuring it, and every year it pumps up higher and higher and higher. And the planes have to fly higher to avoid the turbulence at these layers. There's a certain layer of turbulence where it scrubs, and they can't fly in that layer, and that scrub zone keeps going higher and higher. So the planes have to keep flying higher and higher. And now it's going to be just inflated like a really, really hard rubber ball, and we're scrubbing through the particles in space, and this is what's causing the problem. And anyway, we're going to be talking between Liam and I, and trying to discuss this and see if we can find somebody that can help us. We need help. We need people that have some money and have some influence and have the interest in saving our planet or doing something to try to help humanity. Whether or not I can save, or we can save the planet, I have no idea. But what I have found and discovered and can show, I am almost 100% certain, can absolutely help humanity by creating a very cost-efficient product of electricity, and maybe even for free. And not something that won't hurt the environment. So let's do a little discussion here and just have a nice long talk. And Liam's a wonderful guy to talk to, and he's a smart guy. He's got a lot to offer. So let's just talk.
And I thought, well, these are the kind of people I want to talk to, but I can't find the email address for the guy. They're hard to get to, aren't they?
Nobody will reach out. I have never had anybody respond. Nobody. Never. Anybody. You know, people that want to show me things and so forth, yes, but people that have made statements and are in academia or are, you know, like all the hotshots that you see always talking about this or that, they never respond. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. I think you're onto. I can see now why you've gone into this thinking of you just got to teach it as a university. You've got to teach these as lessons, as classes. And I think you're right. I think we're just going to have to do it, grab the bull by the horns, and build it up, and market it, and just tell people, and just do it like crazy, and then force the community to have to come over and engage. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's what I've been trying to do. Job. Well, here's my problem, Liam. I am not technically skilled at being able to make presentations that are, you know, quality. I don't have all that stuff. I don't have all the little graphic things, and you know, but I show the evidence and I just present it the way I present it. But for some reason, you know, I get to a couple of thousand hits, and that's it. It's done. And I put them out every day, basically, because after a couple thousand hits, it's over, and they are just done. They'd never be seen again. You know, it's people. You know, it's not like they're. I just don't know what to think. This to me is like candy. It's like ice cream, and I can't help myself. And I see people, they just turn away from it like it's poison.
I think it's too big, and I'm wondering if it's one of them situations where there's only a minority that can do it. You know, they say that about 15% of the population can't be hypnotized, or can. Is it 20% are susceptible to hypnotism? That kind of thing. There's like a certain on the bell curve. I think it's just we're too suppressed. We've been too stupefied, haven't we? You know, I think that's what it is.
You know,
make us sound smart.
Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find this article that I was looking at about how people follow. It doesn't matter what. Well, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find the article. Hold on. All right, Liam. Here's the article that it just popped up today. People believe in conspiracy theories for a perfectly logical reason. Now, so I started looking at it. I didn't fully do the whole thing, but let's just read through it and see what it has to say. Because this is the key. Conspiracy theories are nothing more than group think. It's like you get an idea, and somebody can present it in a persuasive way, and then the rest of the people just follow it like it's reality. And now here's what they're saying now. I'm just going to read it. You ready? Liam, you there, brother? All right, Liam's been cutting in and out, so I'm going to just read this. He'll come back before long. All right, a new review adds to the growing evidence that there are many complex reasons why people believe in conspiracy theories, contrary to the cliche that it's a lack of knowledge. Now, a lack of knowledge just means that people are stupid. That's why they believe in these conspiracy theories. Well, let's see what they have to say. Conspiracy theorists are not all likely to be simple-minded, mentally unwell folks. A portrait which is routinely painted in popular culture. Oh, they're just nutcases. And this is from Emory University clinical psychologist Shauna Bowes. Well, what does she think it's all about? Let's see what this is. All right, so instead, many turn to conspiracy theories to fulfill deprived motivational needs and make sense of distress and impairment. So she's got even a worse idea about these people than that they're nutcases. They're just really distressed and motivationally deprived, and they got all kind of impairments. Oh, this is hilarious. All right. While we all experience conspiracy thinking at some point, some of these beliefs can become dangerous. Now, I got to tell you, my Mudfossil stuff and my light research and all that stuff, they think it's a conspiracy. For some reason, I don't know why. I'm trying to show evidence, and they think it's a conspiracy. That's what happens, is these people say, oh, these are all conspiracy nuts. They don't even look at what they're talking about. Now, I know there are a lot of crazy people. Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that. But is it a conspiracy to talk about things in the past that were written, and now I have the evidence to support, like giants and dragons and people with hair follicles this size? That's a hair follicle. That's the pili erector muscle. This right here is a sebaceous gland. There's the hair shaft, and there's the root of the hair. I've shown these in a lot of my, well, three of them are DNA tested, and all of this stuff, they treat it like I'm dangerous. Oh man, hold on a second. Okay, so is Roger a conspiracy type person? Well, I claim that there is a systemic suppression of our ancient past. Is that a conspiracy? Well, maybe. But when the top universities, the top universities, Yale, Harvard, all of the MIT, all of the top ones that claim to be looking for proof of all of these things, when they're presented with it, refuse to allow it to be seen. That, I say, maybe that's a conspiracy. Maybe I am a conspiracy theorist. But I can tell you what I'm talking about is truth. What they're talking about is making up nonsense to stay in control. Listen to this. We all experience a conspiracy thinking at some point, but these beliefs can become dangerous. Well, I can tell you what, I see it as dangerous to lie to the students. And that's exactly what's happening now. It's fraud and lying. Now, analyzing 170 studies, mainly from US, UK, Poland, Bose and colleagues explored the motivation behind people's beliefs. While there are many influential factors, the data suggests people seem motivated by a need to feel safe. Exactly. They're scared to death of my evidence. They need to feel safe. This has actually got some guts to it. So this is the most motivation, is a need to feel safe. They want to be in a group that holds them tight. To understand one's environment, they have to understand it. They have to feel comfortable, which they have been because they've been brainwashed. So they need to feel safe, understand the environment, and an increased need to feel socially secure if those other two needs are not being met. So they need to be socially secure. They need to have people surrounding them, supporting them, and saying, "Oh, you're a genius because you could say the same things that everybody else told you to say." I don't go with any of this, but I go with a little bit of it. Need to feel safe. I can see that is absolutely true, because when I present my evidence to people, their eyes just literally glaze over, and I can tell they almost start to shake, and they immediately withdraw. And I had one woman, she says, I like to watch what you present, but it is jarring. And it is. Nobody expected dragons and giants miles tall, those things that Enoch talked about in the ancient text, the myths about Gaia, Typhon in the desert. All of that stuff appears to be real. Now, are you shaking? Are you scared? Are you afraid? I got to be honest with you. At first, I was pretty well shocked. Okay, Liam just appeared out of nowhere again. He had some technical difficulties, but he's here. Liam, you're here with me, right, brother?
I'm back in business.
He's back in. He's come back to life. He's resurrected. All right, here we go. Now, people believe in conspiracy theories for a perfect logical reason, because they're worse than you missed it. I'm telling you, this is just ridiculous. Now, I am considered a conspiracy theorist because I claim that academia doesn't care about reality. Their main intention is to control the population under their, whatever they say, they have to repeat. And I mean, really, that's exactly how it works. If you don't repeat it, they'll tell people you're crazy because you couldn't repeat it. And if you don't go to their colleges and their universities in the first place, they put you in a field with a shovel. They say you're not worthy because you didn't indebt yourself to us and repeat the things we told you. So I say that is a fraud and fiduciary failure and all of the bad things that go along with education. And it's not education, it is suppression. So I am a conspiracy theorist. Now listen to what they say about conspiracy theory. Perfectly good reason. What is that good reason? Listen, this is hilarious, man. It says, a new review adds to growing evidence that there are many complex reasons why people believe in conspiracy theories, contrary to the cliche that it's just that they lack knowledge. They're just stupid. There's more to it. Listen to what they say. This has just put me over the top with hilariousness. Conspiracy theorists are not all likely to be simple-minded, mentally unwell folks, a portrait which is routinely painted in popular culture. They're just all crazy. So this Emory psychologist Shauna Bowes says. They're not all just crazy, stupid people. So what are they then? She says, instead, many turn to conspiracy theories to fulfill deprived motivational needs and make sense of distress and impairment. So they're impaired, they're distressed, and they have deprived emotional needs and motivations. They're just a mess, which is me. Says,
most people, Roger.
Yeah, it's just it's insane what they're saying about the conspiracy theorists. Are not just conspiracy; they have way more dangerous issues. Look at this. We experience conspiracy thinking at some point. All of us think maybe there's a conspiracy. Some of these beliefs can actually become dangerous, like me. They analyzed 170 studies and they explored the motivational needs behind these people's beliefs. There's many influential factors. The data suggests people seem motivated by a need to feel safe. Remember we were talking about how people have shied away from this, so you thought they were just going to jump on board? I knew they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time, brother, 15 years now almost. And it's the people that, there's either people can see and there's people that can't see. And I have not found one that can't see that ended up being able to see. Well, I can't say not one, but the vast majority, when they turn off to this, they need to feel safe. They're motivated by a need to feel safe. They need to feel safe. And this is not a place, a safety zone for them. And it's not safe for me either. It scares me. I got to be honest with you. If you're not scared or you're not thinking and saying, holy shit, this is eternal. This is eternity stuff. This is not just, I don't feel good today.
This is the biggest effed up stuff you can get.
This is as far into real as real gets, and they want to feel safe by being deluded and hiding, and so anyway, they want to be able to understand their environment, and they don't understand it when we throw this stuff out. It's an increased need to feel socially secure, and if the other two needs aren't met, then they go into this crazy zone. So it's bad news as the world around us becomes more dangerous and our future increasingly uncertain. Well, I can tell you what, their futures are very uncertain, because right now I'm looking at the ancient texts in a very, very, very solid way, that these were all written factually. It's not just some rhetoric that somebody came up to scare kids and all that. This is so serious. It's beyond serious. So anyway, they say that their findings reveal motivations at large are important, perhaps even essential, and perhaps pieces of the conspiratorial ideation puzzle. And they have a big paper about how all us crazy people think that they're suppressing truth. Well, no, they're absolutely suppressing truth in virtually every realm. You can't talk about religion or creation or God or anything other than Darwinism.
Mm-hmm. And literally taxpayer money is dedicated to departments that suppress truth, isn't it, in national security? So I mean, it does happen, right?
Oh, for sure. Well, you have to. I got to be honest with you. There are things that should be suppressed, that should not be open to public examination, like the way diplomatic relationships work with other countries. That shouldn't be up for public scrutiny, but it should be controlled in a logical way, and that's not happening either. They don't even talk to each other. No, we won't talk to them. Although you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But anyway, my point being is there's things that are like the geology. We should understand the geology of the Earth. We should understand the history. We should understand, light and physics, and be able to look at that stuff and examine it and think about it without being defamed and demeaned. And that's exactly what's happening.
Because I think what attracts us to it is that, but it's big and it's heavy duty stuff, but it's also very exciting. I think this is the thing that can get missed in all of this. Is this is really exciting stuff, not just exciting because it's wild, but exciting because this means we can really get a hold on some of the fundamentals. We can really get some answers on some really important things, and that's going to definitely lead to really useful stuff for us. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just trying to make the leap, I think.
Well, the problem is once they identify you as an oddball. Let's go with the term oddball. All right, that's what they always used to say. That guy's an oddball. Well, as soon as you're an oddball, nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. And even like this right here, which could possibly save our planet, won't even talk to me. Won't even talk to me. This is fission and fusion of light, and not atomic. This is subatomic. This is light. This can't hurt you. All we're doing is dividing the electricity out of the light. Light is electricity. There's no question whatsoever. It hits solar panels and they make electricity out of it. So what we're doing is we're taking the light. Here's the two parts. The black, you see the black stripe here where my cursor is? That's pushing the white. We want to harvest that white and forget the black, because the black has all the weight. The white has all the burn and no weight. When you charge a battery up, your battery doesn't get heavier. I mean, it does a tiny, tiny bit, but nobody would ever know. And because all you're putting in is the white stuff that has no mass and all the burn. You're not putting in any of the mass, which has no burn. You know about
and
this.
even that mass, that tiny amount of weight gain that you get with a battery, that's probably to do with the materials anyway.
Well, no, they are electrons. They're electrons. Electrons have a weight to some degree, and I know this for a fact. And I got to tell you a story how I do know this. Absolutely no question. I was in the electronics business. I had a business, and we used to sell cash registers and all kinds of business equipment. And some of the stuff was scales, very finely calibrated scales that were electronic. And this goes back when scales were spring-loaded and all this. Well, they went into the electronics. Now, I had my own business, and we had to have these weights that we would go around and test the scales to make sure they're weighing correctly, because they had what they call a load cell, and the cell loads a certain amount of energy depending upon how much weight is on a platter. All right, so far you follow me so far? Now,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right, now what would happen is we would have to go up and put the scales on, to put the weights on, and verify that it was dead nuts, so that the customers weren't getting charged wrong and all that stuff. And then we would take a lead seal and seal it so that nobody could get in and make any more adjustments. So but you'd have to have your weights calibrated every couple of years, every year, whatever it was. So I had to take them up to the weights and measures department. And I go up to the weights and measures, and I got the box of weights. I bring them in, and I say, okay, can you test these? I got a service call, I got to run down the road. I come back and pick them up. He said, no, you can't. I said, what do you mean I can't? He says, I can't do it today. And I look around, the guy's doing nothing. He was sitting there reading a paper or something. I said, well, I mean, how hard is it to check the weight? He says, it has nothing to do with that. He says, I can't check them until they have the same temperature as the room. I said, what's that got to do with it? He said, we don't know. We don't know, but if they're not the same temperature as the room, they're not going to weigh right. And I said, you're kidding me. He said, no. He says, we don't know what it is. He said, maybe it's something to do with the cold air flowing off it or something. And nobody knows, but we know that they won't weigh right until they're in the same temperature as the room. So I had to leave them overnight. And now I know why. It's because they have absorbed energy, and that energy has to flow out of them. And that energy does have a weight to it. And all it is electrons. All it is these things right here. All right, you see the black and the white?
Yeah.
All right, these are photons. Well, there's one lower than the photon, which is the gluon, which is just one black and one white. And that's what they always called a glue. Well, they always called it an electron, really, because they never knew the black was there until recently.
Yeah.
The black is dark matter, so they never knew it was attached to the white. The two of them are one unit together, and it's a bar magnet. It has, and two bar magnets back to back make this little box. So when you have a hot situation, or something is hot, all you did was push in the white particles. All right, you follow me here? When something,
Yeah, of course, yes.
the white particles are what's pushed in. The black, they don't go pushing in. Only the white particles go in to create something hot. And just like I showed you with the atomic bomb blast.
Mm-hmm.
Only the white, and it has no mass whatsoever to speak of. All right, so that's what goes into something. When you pick up anything, a piece of glass, a glass jar, and it weighs a pound. Now, it's the temperature of the room. Now, when it gets to be 200 degrees, 300 degrees, whatever, way up hot, it's really not going to weigh hardly any more at all. But it's just going to be flooded with this white stuff that wants to get out. And it will just flow out into the atmosphere and jump away from itself, just like it is here. That white stuff wants to go and jump into these other white fields. I don't know if that makes sense. That's probably something.
Yeah, it does. No, Roger, trust me, I've been looking at this really hard because I find it fascinating. We can collect from this.
Absolutely.
You know? And like I said to you, we might have to do it ourselves. It looks like. I really thought we'd be able to get help, but it looks like not. Even in the alternative places, it's not looking too good.
They don't care. Nobody seems to. All they really want to do is prove a point that their research, that they've decided there's no such thing as a photon, there's no such thing as planets. I mean, all they care about is that kind of stuff. It's
space is fake stuff.
Yeah, that kind of stuff where they, on a level of this magnitude, they just can't get there. They just can't get there. And now here's the standard model of physics, which is not right at all. It's just totally wrong. All of these things don't exist. The only thing that exists is the W and the Z right down here at the bottom. And the W is the white particle and the Z is the black one. The boson, the Z boson is the carrier, they call it, the black one. It pushes the white or sucks the white. It's either way. But when it's being sent out as light, it pushes. All right, so it's when it's sent out through the Venturi pushing light, or even just light being pushed forward, radiating. Let's go with radiation. Radiation causes the black particle to push the white particle. That's radiation. Gravity is just the opposite. Gravity is the black particle sucking the white particle to it.
Expansion and contraction, like breathing.
It's exactly correct. Expansion, contraction. You can look at it that way, no problem whatsoever. And here it is right here. Here's where it's expanding, where the black is just spilling away from the white, and here's where it's coming back together. They're refusing. That's fission and fusion. And straight right down here, if we can get right in there, all we're going to be collecting is 100% electrons. That's all that's there is electrons. There's no black particles at all. And the electrons have no weight, and they do all the work. It can't get any better than that. It can't get any better.
Yeah, I had a look into. I started reading into CMOS detectors work then, and the scintillation detectors, and then they're a bit pricey, but one of them would capture them, right? It's going to be so quote unquote easy to collect it. You just need the resources, like you say, don't you?
It's going to be it's a piece of cake. This is on the shelf stuff right now. We could do this in 2 weeks. We could have this up and running in 2 weeks. And this is what it does. They're trying to start out with proton-proton collisions, coming down to hadrons, coming down to flux, coming down to neutrino, coming down to this. We're already down here at the neutrinos. And what they want to get out of them is 100 billion electron volts up to trillions of electron volts, which just means raw electrons. These are raw electrons. These neutrinos, the electron neutrino, which is right here, You see right here, electron neutrino?
Yeah.
It creates electron showers. We already have them. Here they are right here. We don't have to do all that other stuff. It's insane what they want to do. We carry this around in a shoebox. This is what you're looking at right here. The size of this collision is the size of a pinhead. And what's coming out of here is electron showers. I just showed you the physics for electron showers is staggering. The amount of energy. The energy of these neutrinos is in this range. And we're doing this like for pennies.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and we'll only get once we do start collecting it, we'll only get a sliver of that. A manufacturing company will be able to get way more, but that sliver will give us just as much as we need. It'll prove the point. We'll have to do it, Roger.
Well, it's somebody's going to have to do it. I got some people that are working on it with lenses, but Rod Warren was the guy, and I'm telling you, he put thousands and thousands and thousands of hours into this. And these are all pretty much all his. Well, some of them are. This was another guy that did the red and the green at the same time through the same Venturi, and he saw all the same particles Rod saw. So it's not just Rod can do it, but he was the best. I just don't have time to. I get frustrated and smash things. But look at what he did. Look at this. Look at the power, man. Look at the power.
I know, it's ludicrous. It looks like, that looks like an angelic picture. From this you see it on like Google Images. It looks like something crazy. You know what I mean? Something out of a film. But there you are.
Well, the thing was, I got to be honest with you. The thing was, that's what Rod was looking for. He was looking for light, the life that he thought might be inside of the light. And when God said, "Let there be light," after that, everything is made. Everything that you are made of light. You are made of light. I am made of light. Everything is made of light. Light.
Yeah. In fact, isn't that one of the? I don't know what it's called, but isn't that one of the creation models where they're saying that there's probably an antimatter universe been created at the same time as a Big Bang, and eventually they'll collide?
Well,
that's without an antimatter counterpart is a lie. It's all
that's all nonsense. Nonsense, my brother. We have our antimatter attached to our matter, and here it is right here.
Sure, but it illustrates the point, doesn't it? That it's the only thing that would be left because it's not got an antimatter counterpart. Not as far as I know, anyway.
Well, it does. Here it is right here. The black is the antimatter, or is the matter actually. The white is the antimatter. It's just crazy because this one has no mass. It has 100% of the energy. The other one has no energy and has 100% of the mass. They're totally opposite.
Oh, of course, yes. Sorry, I was having a dumb. Yeah, see, it takes time to catch up. Obviously, if that's got the mass, that's the matter. That's its dipole.
It's the carrier.
What do you call it?
It's the carrier. Hold on. Let's make sure everybody sees the atomic bomb blast because this makes it so obvious. It's impossible to miss. Okay, so you need to see this because this makes everything so obvious it cannot be missed. It absolutely cannot be missed. I say everything is made of dipoles, which is two particles. The solid, heavy-duty one that has no burn and has all the mass, which is the black one. It's called a muon, and it is dark matter. Nobody's ever known about it before. It's attached to the white matter. We always see the white matter because the white matter is the only thing that can bounce back at us. Now, what's going to happen is the atomic bomb is going to go off. This is atomcentral.com. The atomic bomb will go off, and the only thing with that white particle is it just burns. It does not have any mass. It's not even going to push the house. There is absolutely no movement to this house or these wires or these poles or anything other than they just fume. And what does fuming mean? There's so many extra electrons, which is the white part, have invaded their space that if they are even the tiniest bit combustible, they will just fume and destruct. That's what we used to call it when I was in the Army, fume and destruct. All right, here goes. I'm gonna stop it here and there, but the first thing you're gonna see is just a brilliant glow of white. And then I'll stop it. Boom. You see that? Just a brilliant glow of white. Now,
That's the accelerated electrons.
those are only electrons. Those are only the white particles now. This is what they call these the soft particles. And I can show you that. They also now, they're doing that. They understand now. They call them soft and hard particles. These are the soft particles. Now, what are you seeing? Everything is brilliantly lit. Now look in the background for these poles and the wires up here at the top and this roof and anything that's the slightest bit combustible. The tank on the side here is metal. That's not going to burn. And anything that's in the side, like the side of the house, won't burn. It's only the stuff where it's pushing into it head on. But it's, when I say pushing into it, it's infusing. It's not pushing anything. It's a hard concept for me to grasp. I got to be honest with you. I cannot understand how it could have no mass and have so much burn. It's just hard for me to comprehend. But it does. So let's just continue on here. This is very slow motion. So here it goes. Look what's happening. Just smoking. It's just fuming. Look at the wires in the background here. Look at the poles. Look at the roof. Look at the windows. Look at the shades. Look at the
Instant look as well.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
been bellowing for ages.
Just instantaneous absorption of all of those white particles, but they don't push anything. They're not even pushing them. Now watch what happens though as it gets more burn and more burn, and they'll just virtually be completely combusted. At this point, there's almost nothing left that can combust. There's no fire, but there's all of the electrons have been so invaded that they've just combusted without actually burning, which is another hard concept. Now comes the hard particles. So we had the soft particles have hit, and they're nothing but burn and no mass. Now will come the dark particles. Boom, you see that? Those are the only coming now is the black particles. All mass, no burn. Now, what will happen is the stuff will start to turn around and come back. And the reason is because the black particles back there, there's still a bunch of them back there, and they want other particles to come back to them. So that is why the return happened. All right.
Yeah.
Nobody can possibly miss that. You can't possibly miss the fact that it burnt without moving, and then it combusted, it smashed without burning.
And I suppose we've always assumed it's like, or I haven't imagined it as like some kind of big fire that's going out. So if it pulled back, you'd think, oh, that'd be like an air vacuum, wouldn't you?
That type of
But it's
thing.
not what's happening, is it?
It's like an air vacuum, but more so, I believe, it's the dark matter is the gravity. The dark matter is, it sucks stuff back to it just absolutely violently. And that's what creates electricity. The only
I
thing.
bet that's what's happening. Are you familiar with John Hutchinson?
Oh yeah. Yes, I am. Yeah, I looked.
So he's got that model of the Eldridge. Have you seen where he puts that in his chamber? A model of the Eldridge in some water. Yeah. And when he does the experiments on that, it starts glowing on some of the corners as if they're fires, but they're not fires. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't remember seeing that. You're talking about Hutchinson, the one that made stuff elevate?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he made a model of the USS Eldridge as if to say, oh, I'm going to redo the Philadelphia experiment. He did this, put the same field on the top of it, and it started, quote unquote, catching fire on certain points. But it wasn't fire, it was that plasma. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's just the electrons.
Yeah, exactly. Electrons are going to be emitted. They're going to be emitted from anything that has excess electrons. When he put it in the water, and he showed it being emitted into water.
Yeah.
Is that what he did?
No, it's happening on the model of the boat.
Yeah, but where was it? Was the boat in the water or out of the water?
Yeah, it's floating on some water. Yeah.
It was floating, and where was the fire coming from? Above it?
Yeah, from on the ship, parts of the ship, as if, but they didn't seem like proper fires, and people noticed the same and it's a bit controversial, but the 9/11 thing, people notice the same phenomenon of things getting burned, but the like paper's not catching fire. Do you know what I'm saying? There's some weird effects, like the Hutchinson effect.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that you can absolutely, no question whatsoever, force anything that's metal to give off. Well, just let me show you something. Hold on a second. All right, Liam. What we were just talking about a minute ago was the hard and the soft particles. You see this soft and hard components of cosmic rays. Cosmic rays are nothing more than what we did, only they did it with protons. We did it with electrons. So what are we looking at here? You see P here, and it's P, the protons coming in, smashing into electrons, basically. And you see the little pi symbols with the minus and the plus. Well, what is that? They call that a pion. Well, the pion is the black and the white part. And then it breaks into a muon, and then the electron neutrinos. And then a photon, you know, they see them photons over here. They're mixing it all up. These are showers. And we are doing the electron showers, but using photons to create the showers. We're doing it much more elegantly than they are. They're using protons. And you again, remember this, proton, all this decay and all this nonsense to get down to where we started. We started with the neutrinos. We started with the electron neutrinos. We started with them making electron showers. So and the electron showers are nothing but electricity. It's raw electricity. And showing, again, let me show you something. Hold on. All right, this is the best way to demonstrate what I'm hoping somebody could do. I have not got the ability to do this. We know, I have shown you, no question whatsoever, the laser right here, all right, this laser shot a pulsed beams through the venturi, separating the white from the black. Absolutely no question I showed that. And that is my electron flood theory, as you can see down here. We're writing some new books about it. Now, up here, you can visualize right here. You see this? These are the electrons. You see how they're gaining energy, lower energy down here, gaining huge high energy showers, large showers created, high energy. All right, now what about the muons? The muons, they get banged up and they stop. They stop right here. The electrons go through the venturi and gain huge energy because they're just nothing but electrons. The muons stop pretty much right at the venturi. Some of them leak through a little bit, yes. In this case, in the one that Rod created, there was no leakage at all. It was 100% electrons. So we can create these energy showers, these electron showers through there, and hopefully we could put it in a little box like this and be able to plug anything you want into it. Outlets would be on the side here. You could plug in AC, DC, 110, 220, 50 cycle, 60 cycle, and just regulate it. And there'd be a regulator in there. You could take it anywhere you want. And there'd be no expansion gases. You'd run through, you'd just take out the electricity you need. And this little box, as far as I'm concerned, should create enough electricity to run a car, power a house,
yeah.
Like, you know, a huge amount of the electricity. When you try to create a charging station, all right, you know what a charging station is. It's where they bring these cars and they need to charge the batteries back up. Well, the batteries have been depleted. All the white stuff has been, well, not all of it, but a lot of it has been used up, which was the excess. And all it did was try to find the black. So they ran a wire from where the white is excess, which is one side of the battery, through a motor, and the other side of the battery is where the black is. And the white will go through that motor to get to that black and make that motor run like unbelievable amounts of power. Absolutely incredible. These electric cars can accelerate like a rocket ship.
Yeah, there'd be drag cars, don't there? Like I say, if they had something like this would be.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Fine.
this can run 24 hours a day. There's no reason we should ever have to shut this off. It's not like you at CERN and those places, they make one big bang and they're happy for 6 months.
Yes.
They spent $500,000 to make it shoot one little crack, and they take it a week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane.
It's like it's almost like you figured out how to make gold by clicking your fingers, but they want to bombard a bit of metal with neutrons for 3 days at a cost of $3 million. You know?
Oh, billions of dollars. They're just so out of control. But that's how they make their living. They don't want this. This is not for them. This is not going to get them any awards. Remember I talked to you about pions before, this thing right here? Charged pion. Just listen to this, because if you're into, you got to be a little geeky for this, but that's okay. You don't have to be too geeky. Now they're talking about pions. In particle physics, a pion, and then they give it all kinds of names, a pion, meson, or this or that, which it looks like it's a subatomic particle. Subatomic means smaller than an atom. Now, each pion consists of a quark and an anti-quark. Well, they come up with all these crazy names, and then they come down to mesons and hadrons and unstable charged pions, and then they tell you how long they will stay stable for, which was almost no time at all. Nanoseconds means billionths of a second. And then they come back together, just like I showed you, the white and the black come back together like in billionths of a second. Now listen to this. Charged pions most often decay into muons and muon neutrinos. All right, charged pions. What is a charged pion? A charged pion is a particle that has an extra charge. And what is an extra charge? It's an electron. So a pion with an extra electron most often decays into muons and muon neutrinos, while neutral pions generally decay into gamma rays. You know what a gamma ray is? It's the black particle. The gamma ray is the black particle. It's a killer. The black particle is the part they use for radiation and, to kill tumors and so forth. And
it damages DNA, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it damages everything, because it's that big black ball all by itself. No more buffer. The white is a somewhat of a buffer. Okay, you see when it just comes out and the white's ahead of it. If you got gamma radiation, there's no white. You're getting hit by the black. The white isn't bouncing at all. The white is a little bouncer. And when it's gone and all you have is gamma, you're just getting hit by those black particles in a stream, and they focus them in a stream, and they kill anything that's in front of it, because they're just like a machine gun, literally like a machine gun bullets. The white is different. The white will heat you up and burn you, but it won't blow holes in things. All right, you saw what it did before. It just cooks things. It cooks stuff. It's a cooker, but it won't shoot holes in things. The black shoot holes in things. Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just so fascinating. I don't love the geeky stuff, but yeah, it's just so fascinating, because I don't understand the implications of these things, and it's like, come on. But yeah, I understand. Yeah, one's like I say, because it's got the mass, it's like a bullet.
It's a bullet.
One's cooking. It's like on the outside. Yeah. But isn't it interesting though that they seem to balance each other out? Yin yang dipoles, all pans out. It makes total sense, doesn't it? And do you know what the strange thing is, Roger? I think if you were to explain this to children, I don't think they'd be lost. But do you know what I'm saying? It's still free. It makes sense, doesn't it?
10 years old, they should be able to fully understand this. This is not hard to understand. Light consists of the two particles attached together, the black and the white, just like this right here. This is light. And these are the smallest particles anybody has ever seen. But they don't know where they came from. They see them as two different distinct particles, a black one and a glowy one. But that's because they're smashing protons and just getting literally a pile of trash, and they're picking through the trash. And when they see these, they say, we see these a lot. So they got to be probably the smallest particles there are, but where they came from, they have no idea. We can see them. Not only can we see them as photons and their photon stage, we can see them, as you can see, in their muon, sterile muon. This is what they call sterile muon. The single black particle, all by itself, is a sterile muon, and that is what causes gamma radiation. But you have to be shooting it in a beam, separating it off of the white particles. And you know how they do that? With the ultraviolet catastrophe.
Yeah.
Do you know, nobody knows about that. I love this stuff, man. This drives me crazy because
Yeah, you told me about that the other week. That's pretty cool, that is, as well.
the ultraviolet catastrophe
drops
it just means there's no more electrons left. They've stripped all the electrons off in the heat. And all of the different colors, the red goes first, then the green, then the blue, and then they expect more stuff to come off, more colors. Nothing comes off because there's nothing left. And then it drops down to freezing cold. Instead of going hotter and hotter and hotter, all of a sudden it hits to where there's no electrons left. And it just drops down to zero, and they can't figure that out. It's because there's no electrons left.
Yeah, it ran out. It ran out of steam.
Yeah. I mean, it's really amazing that electron flood theory covers 100% of everything. There's nothing I can't cover. There's 100%. Here's the neutrinos. They say they don't understand.
I'm glad you brought that. Can I just ask you a question before you?
Yeah,
on the left side of that image, on the far left,
Here?
where you've got the particles kind of blurred. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they spinning? Are they spinning off to separate?
I'm not exactly sure what they're doing at this point. I believe they are spinning, but in what manner, I don't know. At this point, they're called neutrinos. And a neutrino means that it's got some of the black and some of the white in disproportionate, some more white than black or more black than white, so it has more or less mass, because we know the black is the mass.
Mm-hmm.
So, which will mean that it'll have more or less energy, because the more mass pushing that particle, it gives it more energy. The pusher, which is the boson, the black part, carries the white part. Now, here it's starting to stack up on itself before it hits the Venturi. But up in here, there's the same particles are up in this area up on top. Same particles are here, but they're not banging up against their own fields. Their fields up here, they're just sort of pushing through sort of easy. Now they're starting to hit up here before they hit the backward field coming out. It radiates fields all the way around here. So now they're starting to display up here because they're starting to concuss. But here, this is where they're accelerating and concussing strongly. So it's starting to weigh an ounce. Here it weighs 2 ounces. Here it weighs 2.5 ounces. Here it weighs who knows what, and here it falls into pieces. But that's the difference between the neutrino values. They call them flavors. And the green, you saw the red. Here's the green. Is identical, same thing. It creates the same neutrinos. You see them?
Yeah.
And it creates the same photons. This photon here is getting ready to spin. You see the bottom white? It's moving this direction. The bottom white is being charged up, and it's charged right now to the point it's going to flip to the back, and this one will flip to the front. And then that's what's called the neutrino oscillations, or what else they call it? The wobble. They call it the photon wobble, or something like that. But that's all it is. They're spinning. And there's no question they're spinning. And then what light?
Yeah, see it in the fields. Yeah.
Yeah, light spins.
Yeah.
It spins
Yeah,
like this. And that's what and it doesn't want to be next to each other. That's what's creating all these interference patterns. They're not interference patterns. They're repulsion patterns. The white particles, they say, stay away from me, I'll stay away from you. And it has nothing to do with waves flapping over here and there. These are all single slits. And this is what Fermilab gets. That's what they do.
Yeah, I think I was going to say maybe that's where they're making a big mess on it. It's such a great point you made with all those, with a proton being so much bigger and all those extra electrons stuck to it. You're just smashing it, and it's going to be really hard to pick through that, isn't it? And
Oh yeah, they got
isn't it?
literally hundreds and hundreds of people analyzing these pictures for decades. I'm serious. For decades.
Yeah, and all because of all those red herrings, and no wonder they can't trace. Oh, we don't know where it's come from.
Here's what happens. Let me
Tell
tell you exactly what happens in these places. They got a bunch of people that think they all know. They read and they're going to figure something out that nobody else can figure out. So they're looking at this. Well, I can see this blue, and I can see this white, and I can see the yellow, I can see the red. Wow, let's figure out what happened here. Wow, this is because they're. And then they come up with all this absolute insane nonsense. And I can tell you exactly why you have these different colors. The closest to the core is the most tightly held, and when it escapes, it has to really escape, and it will be blue, because that's a high frequency escape. Then other ones will escape lower colors, but primarily the blue and the white. The red doesn't escape because it's just hanging around the outside. It just doesn't go anywhere. The blue, when it gets banged, it's gone. And the red is just weak, and that's why you can see the red actually spinning here. You would never see that with the blue or the green. You just see a straight across line, because it would be spinning so fast that you couldn't see the cut of the spin, if you follow me.
Yeah, you'd need you need a bunch of freeze frames, wouldn't you? To try and see it. Yeah.
I don't think you'd ever see it. It's just be too fast.
Yeah.
And
we ain't got the tech for that frame rate yet, have we?
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, we should be able to get free electricity right now, and I'm talking free within a couple of weeks. This is off-the-shelf components. There's nothing to make here that's special. Not a single thing is special. And the only reason
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Can we stick a collector right onto the Venturi then? I mean, that's the way to get it close. Is that close enough, or is there a way to extend the shower? I was wondering about that.
Well, the more particles it interacts with, the greater the shower. You see how this is showing here?
Oh.
It comes in and they hit with. They're showing just one quick little thing, but you can create many showers out of here. What I would say would be to maybe even inject a little bit of moisture or something in there, so that we have things to really slam into. Although actually no. Now that I think about it, that wouldn't be wise, because then you're going to be back into the black particles. We're in the best realm you could possibly be, right here. You can't get any better than this.
Although you bring up an interesting point there, where if ever you needed to regulate it, just spray it with a bit of water.
Well, no, you'd regulate it once it got into the past the photodiode. You see this here? This is a bus bar.
Sure, yeah. As a device works, it's an interesting thing, but it's so easy.
Yeah, you'd have some electronics in here. You'd have, first of all, you'd need, diodes and capacitors and, resistors, and you'd need all the same stuff you use to create a circuit. And that circuit, though, could be regulated to be AC or DC, because this is coming in DC, direct current. Okay, negative, straight down. No bouncing back and forth. In a house, in the United States anyway, it's alternating current. So it goes this way and comes back. Bing, 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 bing. This is going zzz, all continuously. Now, would we want to make 60 cycle power out of that? Absolutely. And why would we want to do that? Because everything that's built right now is working with 60 cycle power, a lot of it. So all we'd have to do down in here is make a rectifier circuit that would oscillate, like bridge rectifiers backwards almost, so that you'd pulsate the electricity. Very simple to do. You can turn AC into DC and DC into AC. Very, very simple. It's rectifiers and capacitors and diodes, and then you could regulate the current using what they call Zener diodes, which is a Zener diode has an avalanche characteristic to it. So it won't transmit energy until it hits, let's say, 100 volts. We used to have them 12 volts. They would avalanche, and then that would set up the voltage of the circuit. It's very simple. That part is totally fully understood. That's 15 minutes. 15 minutes to set up that.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do is to create a mechanical capture device that, it's pretty efficient. Even this should be pretty damn efficient. Just doing this was just thrown together literally with two nails. That was a nail right here and a nail right here.
Oh yeah, I meant to ask, did Rod, because when Rob was getting his images, did he get did he put something black behind it? Because it looked as if he did, to act as a contrast, or
no, I think he was just in the darkness, in total darkness.
Oh yeah.
You see here? It's just the darkness. You see these little glowing spots? You know what those are? You know what these are?
No.
Those are gases.
Yeah, that's the electrons puffing up or coming back.
Well, they're gases. They're gases and electrons that are in the air. But every gas is nothing more than a bunch of little dipole particles. So it's all the gases are surrounded by these white particles as well. So as this comes bashing its way through, they glow. Anytime you push and shove, I call it push to shove. You push a particle against another one, it creates heat. And this is heat and this is light. Simple as that. Very, very, very simple.
Yeah. Just like the Newton's cradle. You whack a ball into the balls, it's going to whack them. Going to whackage run.
Yeah, what that's doing really, that's working with the dark matter. That's working with the dark black particles, like slamming into the house, and the house is pushing out the other end of the other side of the balls. In other words, you got 5-6 balls hanging, you drop one and it smacks into them, and the last one on the end goes flying with the same mass of what hit from the first side. Right? You agree?
It starts to make, like I say, really starts to make a lot of things make sense. In my head there, while he was talking, the cogs was going on, I was just thinking of this experiment where someone dropped this cannonball on the concrete floor and weighed it with a really, really accurate weigher, and it had lost a bit of mass, but it returned over a short period of time.
Yeah. It would lose some electrons, which is the heat. It will create heat, absolutely. And those electrons will actually be sucked into the ground, because just like lightning. Now, every electron wants to be attached to the ground. It'll go through you, static, lightning, electricity will burn its way right through you and explode you, literally, as it goes to try to get to ground. Ground has to be saturated with the black particles.
Mm-hmm.
And when you build a device, you have the electrical part, which is the electron white part, and then you always have to have it grounded to the other side, so that's where the electrons are going to end up flowing to. So it's time for them to pay attention to this. We need this desperately right now. The atmosphere is so destroyed now, absolutely destroyed. And what we're having now is, hold on one second. All right, I'm running late here, and it's running late for Liam. He's over in England somewhere. Now, what we are doing is scrubbing through these particles in space, and our atmosphere is expanding dramatically. These wildfires, they're out of control in Canada and all over Europe, everywhere. Just expanding, like blowing up like a balloon. It's getting hard. The surface is getting very hard. And what it does is it makes it turn into tornadoes and scrubbing heat, intense heat out there. It's almost 3,000 degrees way up here at the edge. Just below, it's minus 100. Now, normally that would be kind of soft. That would be sort of soft, and we would be sort of flowing around as we spin. But now it's so hard that the compression and the condensation, instead of being low where it condenses, it's condensing up high where the extreme cold is, and we're getting these huge balls of ice. I mean, some of them are bigger than baseballs now, and that kills animals and everything else. I mean, it's absolutely horrifying when those things come down. And the tornadoes and the floods, you know what's going on, Liam. It's everywhere. And then people say, oh, it's just that's just a conspiracy theory. There's no global warming. They're idiots. We are ready to go down, and it's not going to get any better unless we can pull all of these gases out of this envelope. And it's not going to happen, I don't think, because there's no interest in doing it.
Yeah, there needs to be made. You need to make a distinction between it's saying it's not happening, isn't it, and saying it's man-made. I mean, that's why people say, oh, it's not us. But they say, oh, it's not happening. But things are happening. You look around the world, there's stuff going on.
Oh, 100%, no question whatsoever. And it is man-made as well. I agree with that. But it's also part of the nature of us absorbing particles. The Earth is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the bigger it gets, the harder it scrubs. Harder it scrubs, the hotter it gets. The hotter it gets, the bigger it gets. The bigger it gets, the hotter it gets. It's just, and the sun is the prime example. The sun is huge, and it's 10,000 degrees on the surface. 10,000. You say, "Ooh, that's hot." No, it isn't. Way out here at its corona, it's millions, and that's because where it's spitting out all this stuff, it scrubs. And where is it scrubbing? Right out here. This is the scrub zone. The sun. This is a solar eclipse. And the sun is being obscured by the moon. The moon is in front of the sun. But we can see all the particles that are coming out. And they scrub way out here. It's millions of degrees where it scrubs through the universe. So this is not what they're telling us. They don't understand global warming. They just don't understand it. And they're talking about putting particulates in the atmosphere to block the sunlight. That's insane. The sunlight is going to come into those particulates and just scrub them harder. That's just not the way. It may make it worse. Everything they do everything just backwards because they won't take the time to look at basically electron flood theory. It has to be taken into consideration, and all the other stuff that I present. There's no reason we can't get free energy right now, and I'm talking about within a couple of weeks. And for somebody to just dismiss this, and it's been for the last 8 years, and primarily Fermilab is the one that shut me down. Fermilab, I found the particles that here's the Fermilab particles right there. This is right from Don Lincoln at Fermilab. He told me I was a tinfoil hat guy, don't ever contact them again. I said, I found your particles, Don. I know what they're doing. We can get free energy. You're a tinfoil hat guy. I will never look. He said his exact words were, I will never spend 1 minute looking at your stuff. Imagine
Won't even look.
He said, wow. I won't spend 1 minute looking at your stuff. And he was abusive, basically. And I got abusive back. And we ended up on a very, very bad note. And he's just an arrogant, incompetent fiduciary failure. He was supposed to be working in our best interest for Fermilab, and he has absolutely not done that. And if he wants to confront me and say, Roger, you shouldn't say these things about me, why? Why, Don? Why shouldn't I say these things about you? I tried to contact him, it's got to be 7 years ago, when the Russians went out in space and they found the particles could separate the black from the white. And I was contacting the Russians at the same time. He got obnoxious, and from then on it was very, very nasty. And I was showing him all the same stuff, and I went to the University of Geneva and I showed them as well, and they were impressed with this. They liked it. They said, wow, this is amazing, but you can't see this with CMOS. I said, yes you can. And I convinced them, yes you can. And I said, you guys aren't focusing, you should focus. And they actually shut down CERN, and they did focus. They put in focusing magnets, and they put in CMOS detectors. And because I was telling them, I said, you can't look at this stuff with they're using charged coupled devices, and they were using high energy input to look and see what the energy is in there, and they changed the energy. It's called the observer effect. And it just
because they're adding input to it, and
they're,
inside
yeah,
the
they're changing it one way or the other. Either they're extracting energy to see what's in these fields, but they're changing the field, and that's called charge coupled devices, or they're inserting energy into it to like look with higher powered, radiation or whatever. However they do it, I don't know, but however they were doing it before, it wasn't. They couldn't see and they couldn't tell, and it would change the outcome and all that. So they did exactly what I said. Now, did I have any effect on that? I have no idea, but they did shut down to put in focusing magnets, and then to also put in CMOS detectors. Now, their CMOS has to be a little different than mine, and I agreed with them that they using protons and heavy particles, CMOS would be damaged. But I'm not using heavy particles. I'm using the same particles you're using in light, so I'm not doing that. But so they had to build some special CMOS, but they ended up going to CMOS. And now they're getting extremely, well, they're still seeing a lot of debris now. Before, listen to this, they would do a blast, which I don't know how long it took them to set up for that and how much money it would cost, but they'd do one hit, and out of hundreds of billions of particles, they'd hit possibly up to 25. And they weren't focusing. They had to focus.
Wow. A waste of energy.
They had to shut down for 3 years. It cost them. It had to cost them billions of dollars, and they put all these superconducting magnets, which have to be superconducting means you got to chill it down to almost nothing to take all the electrons out, so that it will superconduct electrons in. So that stuff's got to be way expensive, and then all this new stuff. And here it is done. It's done, and just waiting to be used. I'm talking a couple of weeks, man. I'm talking a couple of weeks with the right people, and you'd think some basketball player or something would say, here, I'll give you $2 million to do this. We'll set up a little lab somewhere, and some people would jump on. Nope. Not a single person will help. It's depressing, man. Anyway, listen, I gotta go. It's late here. It's late where you are, and it's late for humanity, my friend.
We're not to worry, Roger. We'll get on the case. There's some other people as well, so we'll just do it ourselves. And, but anyway, it's been great talking to you. So thanks so much for having a chat.
No, it's nice to have It's nice to have somebody engaging that is interested in thinking a little bit. Because I've gotten some things from you, whether you know it or not. I mean, I know I run my mouth a lot, but I'm telling you what, I listen too. And you've had some very good points to be made, my friend. And we're going to continue this through all of the different research that we're doing now. And we're doing all the research. It's not just that. I got the books on all this. Paul's writing the books about Velikovsky and Mudfossils and giants and dragons and electron flood and mythology and all the ancient texts. Because literally everything has been suppressed. I know, Roger, a big conspiracy guy. Yeah, well, maybe, but some conspiracies are pretty damn accurate. And it's just a conspiracy of denial. It's not a conspiracy of we want to hurt somebody or we're going out to do bad things. It's just we're indoctrinated, we're happy, we don't want to discuss anything that makes us uncomfortable. And that's the conspiracy. That's what I'm against. It's a conspiracy of closing minds, shutting doors.
That's what I'm about as well. I share that exact sentiment. So yeah, let's just keep working it and keep booking that stuff out, and I'll do the digital stuff and the bits and bobs, and we'll just work together. And more will come. I think there's going to be a breakthrough soon. I don't know how, but
well, I'm supposed to
be breakthroughs in the next couple of years. I think the world's going to get weird.
Well, I'm supposed to be going on a show pretty soon. It's supposed to be a pretty big show. They got all kind of physicists and people that are interacting. Supposedly, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But they're making it look like it's a pretty big production. We'll see. and I'm going to be the head speaker, and they want to do a whole series of all my stuff, and then I will engage with all of these physicists and so forth. They already have their opinions, and they said you got to be ready because these guys are locked in their opinions, which they are. I know that, which is perfect. I don't care. I can go up against anybody. There's nobody can stand up against me with the evidence that I have. If they can, God bless them. I'm ready for it. Anyway, I got to go, brother. It's just that time. I love you, man.
Okay.
You're
Thank you.
okay. Good deal. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.
Okay, that was Liam. We're out of here.